A very good morning to all my students. Today we will be looking at another important P in the services marketing mix, and this is called process. Well, in this short module of process, we will be looking at service encounter and moment of truth, blueprinting and operation design. Okay, students, now talking about process. What do we mean by process? Well, process is nothing but a series of actions where the inputs or the factors of productions are processed or transformed to give us the output, which is our product, and in this case, service. So process is basically an activity which has sequential steps clearly laid out to you. Why process is important is because it helps to overcome the heterogeneity of the service product. As we all know, services are variable, they are relative. They change from person to person who is providing the service, and also the perception of each customer might be different. Now, we can't really influence customer perception much, but definitely we can control the variability or heterogeneity of services rendered by the server, and this is enabled by having the process in place. Now, what are processes? A few very common examples that all of us are aware of are task list or job description, an SOP, which is a standard operating procedure, a standard recipe. So all these documents are formulated, implemented and used and followed in order to have a standardized service given to the customer. And this helps us with managing the quality, standardization, consistency, reliability of service. So process that way is very important. Moving next, we have these two key terms that you should remember. One is called the service encounter and the other is the moment of truth. Now, what is a service encounter? Well, service encounter is whenever that the customer and the service provider, they interact. So interactions can happen in front of the house. For example, if a guest is checking in, there's an encounter. If the guest is eating his meal, settling his bill, a housekeeping attendant cleaning the room, all these are service encounters. And moment of truth is basically the impression that the guest feels, perceives during the service encounter. And the moment of truth is the ultimate truth of your service. The moment of truth would also happen at encounters like valet parking, or the doorman opening the door for you, or the security being polite when he's checking your baggage. So all these are moments of truth. During each and every service encounter, there is a perception of that interaction in the mind of the customer, which is the ultimate truth for him. Yes, so it's very important to know that each process there would be a service encounter. With each encounter, there would be a moment of truth for the customer. Well, the concept of service encounter was put forth by Richard Norman. Most services are a result of direct contact between the customer and the service provider, like we know. At this stage, the customer realizes the perceived service quality is what we've discussed. And this particular perception of service quality was described as the moment of truth. Now, according to the Scandinavian Airlines, each of their thus, the service encounter is very, very critical as it influences the customer's perception of the organization. When the customer has an interaction with the firm, each encounter will be very important as it will create a combined image of that firm. Many positive encounters will lead to an image of high quality, and many, or rather even a few negative experiences will represent a bad image of the organization. The combination of such positive and negative interactions will leave the customer confused about the quality of the product. So here we are saying that every service encounter has to be dealt with very seriously. Ensure that there is perceived satisfaction, and this is the moment of truth. And if every encounter is consistently satisfactory, it will lead to a positive image of the organization as a service provider. Okay. Now moving next, here we are talking about a encounter cascade. Well, encounter cascade here means it is nothing but a series of encounters. So a series of encounters right from the time the customer comes for service. Series means it's multiple encounters during one visit. For example, in a hotel, if a person is staying for a night, think about how many encounters will he have? At least 5 to 6. From the time he enters the doorman, the valet, reception for check-in, the bellboy. Once he's in the room, maybe the housekeeping comes to clean or provide service. Probably room service or a coffee shop for breakfast, and then again at the time of checkout, a cashier. So all these are service encounters. Individually and together, a bunch of these service encounters is referred to as an encounter cascade. Okay. Well, now that you know what service encounters are, let's see the various types of service encounters. The first one is a remote service encounter. An encounter which occurs without direct human contact is called as a remote encounter. For example, when a customer interacts with the bank through its ATM system. Here, the service is delivered through technology with zero human contact, isn't it? Now, moving next is the phone encounter. Well, most frequent types of encounters, even for a product or service, for customer service, happen over the phone. Almost all customer service, general queries, order taking functions happen over the phone. The judgment of quality of the phone call is very, very, very important. So a special emphasis is given on the way the person is speaking, how effectively is that person handling queries. If the person talking over the phone is polite and courteous, does he have all the information? So all these points are very, very, very important for judging the quality of telephonic encounters. Another important thing is that when you're on the phone, it's always good to speak to a person than to the machine. Yeah, so this type of encounter is the phone encounter. Next is the face-to-face encounter. Now, face-to-face encounter is nothing but direct contact between the service provider and the customer. This is physically both of them are present. Here both verbal and non-verbal behaviors are very, very important to determine the quality. Tangible cues like employees' dress also play an important role. The tools he's using or carrying also has an impact. So a little bit of other tangibles of physical evidence would also be included in a personal encounter, right? We will talk about the process mix. While processes in the manufacturing of goods are treated quite independently from marketing, they are very integral to the service delivery in the services industry. What we're trying to say here is that close coordination is absolutely necessary between the operations and marketing functions. To give you an example, banquet event. Now, banquet event is sold by the banquet sales or the salespeople, and they might make promises for delivery, and the operations people have to honor those promises. Right? Now, whenever there is a gap between the two, there is a problem which is going to happen. So, process mix means that different systems that are used have to be working in close sync for it to be a satisfactory process service rendered. Okay. Now, there is also processes are also procedures and mechanisms and the flow of activities which help you to get a consistent service. Here I'd like to highlight that various documents and tools in processes to give us standardized service are nothing but SOPs that are followed. We already know SOPs, we've spoken about it. We also have something called the SPS, which is a standard purchase specification. Whenever that we are purchasing something, it has specifics about the product that we are buying, so that if the raw material is consistent, then the final product will also be more or less consistent. Similarly, other processes are storage conditions or job specification, job description, standard recipe, standard physiology. What is the language that you will use for every task that you are performing, standard training, and so forth. So all these standardization processes are very, very, very important. They form the process mix, and together the elements of process mix help us to give a fairly standardized well, now that we know what is a process and what is an encounter and what are the different types of encounters, and we know a little bit about the process mix, let's see what are the points that we have to consider while designing the service process. The first is customer participation. If the customer is highly participative, then the process would be very different. Whereas when the customer is non-participative, then we as service provider will have to do everything. So the process would be different. So one has to consider participation of the customer. Then you also keep in mind the location of service delivery. How is the delivery model? If it is a home delivery, if it's a dine-in, it will require two separate processes to be devised. Then the service itself. Now, is the service people-based? Is it people-intensive? Or is it equipment-based? Use of technology, use of machines. Based on that, your process would vary. Is it high contact service or low contact service? If it's very high contact, you have to have elaborate process given, and if it's a low contact, it might be skeletal process simplified. Degree of standardization. Are you doing a lot of personalization? Then your process will be very different. Are you doing a more fixed or tailor-made, one size to suit all? Then your process will again be different. Complexity of service is how complex, how layered your service is. Well, now we come to another important term, which is called blueprinting. This is again, I'm sure, a new term to most of you. Well, in service, we talk about processes, and in processes, we talk about blueprinting. Now, what is a blueprint? A service blueprint is basically a picture or a map or a graphical representation that accurately portrays the service system, so that different people involved in providing the service can understand and deal with it objectively, regardless of their individual point of view. So it helps to chalk out or flowchart the service process. So it's a graphical tool which helps you to flowchart or depict the service process. It shows you the people who are involved in it, the interactions that happen, the tasks that are undertaken, and the equipment which is used. Okay, so basically it's very important for every process to have this kind of graphical or pictorial representation in order to understand the service sequence, to understand the service flow, and also it helps to design and to redesign the service flow. For example, if you're getting a lot of complaints, then you can go down to your blueprint and see where the gap lies and what can be done in order to improve it. Yeah, so it's very useful to design and redesign a service development. Okay, it also provides a way to break the service into logical components and to depict the steps or the tasks that are performed, the means by which they are executed, the evidence of the service as consumer experiences it. Now this particular thing, last bit, if you found it feel confusing, I'd like to with this particular diagram. So service blueprint includes point of contact. So here when I say point of contact, means that the customer and the service provider. So these are the points of contacts, right? Then it includes the second component, which is the process, which is basically the task itself, which is being undertaken. And the third is the evidence. Evidence means we've already done it, the physical evidence, which includes the equipment or reports or books or machinery or technology. So blueprint is a graphical flow of the service sequence in pictorial form. It includes the two parties involved, the actual task which is being carried out, and the physical evidence, tangibles that are required to undertake the particular task. Well, now we know what a blueprint is. We also know the three components of a service blueprint. Now we are going to explain those service blueprint components in detail. Now you can see the first one is customers and the on-stage employees, which are the front of the house employees. So these are the two parties that are involved. Now we'll first talk about the customers. Customer actions are basically the steps, choices or activities, interactions that the customer performs in the process of purchasing, consuming and evaluating services, right? The next we talk about is the line of interaction. Line of interaction refers to the direct interactions between the customer and the service provider. So there are always various interactions that happen between the two parties. Those interactions are known as the line of interaction. Then the third we come to is on-stage employee actions. On-stage employee actions includes the various steps and activities or tasks that are undertaken by the contact employees which are visible to the customer. Then you have something called the line of visibility. Now what is this line of visibility? Well, this line separates all service activities that are visible to the customers from those that are not visible to the customer. So this line, so anything beyond this line is basically back of the house. So this line of visibility is where the customer interacts with the organization. Okay. Then behind the line of visibility, you have something called the backstage employees. Backstage employees are also back of the house employees, and it refers to their steps and activities that occur behind the scenes. So these are support activities that are happening. And then you have the line of interaction. Line of interaction is basically the interaction that takes place behind the scene. It separates the contact employees activities from those of the other support service activities and people. Okay, and lastly you have the support processes. Support processes refers to the equipment or the technology, the software, the hardware, the reports, all the information, tangibles that you are using in order to provide the particular service. Okay, so this is important for you all to know that the components of service blueprint are customer interactions, line of interaction, on-stage employee, line of visibility, backstage employees, line of internal interaction, and the support processes. So all of these comprise the service blueprint. Now this is how a service blueprint will look for a hotel stay, an overnight hotel stay. So here you can see this is the customer when he comes. So the customer is coming in, he's arriving at the hotel. This is the contact person that he is talking to, interacting with. This is the backstage, this is the front stage, and these are the processes. So if you can see, these are the tasks, and each task has the customer, doing the activity, there is a line of interaction, there is the on-stage employee, then there is a line of visibility, there is a backstage employee, and then there is a process that is required in the back in order to carry out that activity. So these are the various tasks, and each task is a vertical, and you can see that there are the entire blueprint for every task. So typically this is a blueprint for any person who's going to be staying at a hotel. So every task, if you can see, is here visually represented by the way of a flow chart. Okay, and if any gaps are there, they can. Now further on, we will talk about the application of service blueprint. Well, service blueprint can be applied in various stages. One is when you are developing your product. So new service development, when you are improving upon the existing product, it is helpful to blueprint it. It's also important to create a zero defect service culture. In total quality management, we talk about zero defects or error-free service. It talks about how you can do a service right the first time and every time. So to have a very sound quality, very sound reliability, consistency, standardized service, it helps you. A service blueprint will help you to do that. Service recovery is whenever that there are problems, it helps you to backtrack and plug in the areas where possibly there could be a gap or a leak, so you can improve your service and reduce the number of problems and complaints. Furthermore, blueprints can also be used by the service marketeers in terms of promoting the product and creating expectations which are realistic. Because whenever you promise more and deliver less, there is a complaint. So it helps to market your service, and definitely operations. It helps you to operate seamlessly without any error. It becomes more process driven than person driven. So it helps in operations also. In HR, it helps you to decide on the criteria of JD, JS, recruitment, selection, appraisal. So this is the way you could probably use it in the HR. And lastly, it is also very helpful to tailor make your technology or modify your technology to meet the process. So you can change the technology to make it more suitable for your particular service if you know the blueprint well.